Hi everyone, my name is Alan Cross and I'm the European Space Agency's Business Applications Ambassador for North West England and North Wales. I know it's a snappy title, but I will say to anyone who is about to switch off, please don't switch off. Please don't think that because the guy's going to talk about space, it's got nothing to do with you, because you're exactly the kind of people who need to listen to this. As I say, the ESA Business Applications Regional Ambassador. What on earth does that mean? Allow me to introduce a little bit of what we do and where I'm based. So I've not been parachuted in here from elsewhere in the country or from elsewhere in Europe. I'm based here in the Northwest, specifically at SciTech Daresbury. We've just heard someone talking about the Hartree Centre. I can see the Hartree Centre from my main desk. The centre there it's a big science park. I'm hosted by STFC, the Science and Technology Facilities Council, and I'm one of 5 regional ambassadors dotted around the country. We're here to help businesses understand what satellites can do, specifically non-space businesses. We want to help you understand what they can do, try and figure out how it can be applied to products and services in your sector, and then my main job is to help you apply for funding to get those products and services to market. Now, SciTech Daresbury, as well as being home to myself, is also home of the ESA Business Incubation Centre, the Hartree Centre, which is now the Hartree National Centre for Digital Innovation. A £210 million innovation's gone in there. Just so you know what the Hartree is like, it can do in 10 minutes what it would take your computer 15 years to do. And it is there for industry. It is there to be used for industry. So if you're not speaking to the Hartree Centre, if you're not speaking to SciTech Daresbury, you really need to be. Obviously, I'm talking about space. So what do I mean when I say space? Well, critically, we're talking usually about satellite positioning, navigation, timing, or we're talking about satellite connectivity, or we're talking about satellite imagery. Position, navigation, and timing. Basically, I'll give a very, very quick technical overview. Not too much, don't worry. So you've basically got a series of atomic clocks in space. That's all the GPS satellites are. That's the American system. You've got GLONASS, Russian, Baidu, Chinese, Galileo, European, and Britain's building its own as well. They send a very accurate timing signal, and your device picks up at least 4 of them and can figure out where it is on Earth to within about 5 meters. That's going to be down to about 1 meter in the coming years, and shortly after that, hopefully down to about 20 centimeter accuracy. So this is used for navigation, for route optimization, for geo-stamping, but also for time stamping. So we use these to help the national grid time when to switch on and off. We use them for blockchain integrity markers in banking and finance, and for master clock synchronization. So these aren't just used to get a pizza to you on time, they keep the lights on. They keep civilization pumping. Satellite connectivity. We're all familiar with outside broadcasts when we're having our breakfast, watching the news, and there's always a 2-second delay. That's because it takes the signal 2 seconds to go up the 36,000 miles and back down to 36,000 miles. Things are changing now. Things like OneWeb, which again Britain is building, things like Starlink, these are a few hundred miles up and they act as a single mesh network. And so what you then get is high speed, low latency, broadband speed internet everywhere on Earth, every square inch, without the need to dig up the Highlands of Scotland to lay cabling, without the need for massive infrastructure. So this helps for global access to data and services. It backs up terrestrial communications. For improved security and integrity, high-speed, low-latency broadband can do that. And of course, as IoT starts to come online more and more, there are dedicated solutions. That means you can get the data out of your assets in real time, no matter where they are, anywhere on Earth, at sea, or in the air. Satellite imagery, traditionally we think of it like The Simpsons. They once mentioned it when Mr. Burns makes off with the $1 trillion bill and the CIA said, we put a satellite up and all we can tell you is that it's not on the roof. It's a bit more than that. We can see in infrared, in ultraviolet, in radar, we can detect changes in the wind. We can see millimeter changes in topography. We can detect landslides, and critically, you can see change detection over time. What was happening there yesterday, or last week, or last month? What is different now? If you've got assets or environments you need to monitor, the best way to do it, by and large, is going to be with satellite imagery. I'll tell you a little bit about now of the businesses in this part of the country that are already using space technologies. AWOL Media Productions. These are a sports event photography company, and part of what they do is marathons, triathlons, these kinds of things. If anyone's ever run one of these, you'll know that there's armies of photographers at the starting line, various waypoints throughout, as well as at the finish line. And they are there constantly. Tick, 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 tick. And so hundreds of thousands of images can be generated. If it's a big event, you can stick a 0 on the end of that. And so the industry standards to get these things checked for quality, to get them assigned to the runner, to get them online, to get them into the hands of the person who's done it so that they can pay and have that souvenir, is 24 to 48 hours. AWOL, based in a little church hall up in Lancashire, an SME, they've developed some really clever AI that allows them to very quickly quality check and very quickly assign who the runner is to that photograph. But even then, they couldn't get the photographs online because with hundreds of thousands of pictures, the mobile phone signal fell over, they couldn't go to the local coffee shop, that didn't work. So it was still taking 24 to 48 hours. They came to us at ESA Business Applications, and we funded a project with them that ran just a few weeks ago in Leeds, and they were able to integrate satellite connectivity into that system. And now, with a global standard of 24 to 48 hours, they can do it in under 10 minutes. They're the only company on the planet who can do that. So a huge earthquake's just happened in this sector, and it's all down to an SME in Northwest England using space. Another one, Lancashire, again, is a company called Anywhere Care. They produce these very basic, easy to use mobile phone devices, and they're for the elderly and for vulnerable people. It's a big palm device, and if I was to call it, my face would pop up and my voice would say, "Pick up the phone, Grandad," and he'd go, "Oh," and he'd push it. Simple as that. And they're often worn in a lanyard. As you can see, there's a gentleman there demonstrating them. Anywhere Care were really interested in geofencing and in fall detection, in enabling their users to live more independently and for longer. And so by integrating global navigation satellite systems, GNSS, like the GPS systems, we were able to set up geofences. So if my granddad were using it, and I know on a Monday, at 9 o'clock he goes to the pharmacist, and then at 10 o'clock he goes to the betting shop, and then at 11 o'clock he goes to church, and he doesn't do any of those things, I can be alerted. It's not invading his life, it's a non-invasive method. And of course you can then build in predictive methodologies along this. So Anywhere Care, again, with help from ESA Business Applications, were able to roll this service out to enable their users to live more independent lives for longer. And of course, it gives peace of mind to both the user and their loved ones. These are just two examples. We're all familiar with examples of how space technology is used. We use it every day. From the moment you wake up to the moment you arrive in work, if you're back in the office, you're probably interacting with 25 individual satellites before you get to work. So we know this because we use it to track our deliveries and our pizzas. Extend that further. We use it, one satellite-enabled device talks to another satellite-enabled device, and I'm able to hail a ride with AI, figuring out the journey in between. Extend that further, the use in autonomous vehicles, not just for position and connectivity, but also how do you get the data out of an autonomous vehicle that isn't in the middle of Manchester, that's maybe in the Lake District, that's at sea. Satellite connectivity can do this. For search and rescue, people use what three words all the time. This is satellite enabled. Push it forward again. We can look at meteorological, atmospheric and climate services. If a command and control is necessary for the emergency services and others. The use of drones and agriculture, drones, the more advanced drones, if they get out of range, will automatically flew back to where they started because they're geolocated. But also there's an interaction there between how do you use the drones in conjunction with satellites. Of course, with agriculture is a huge, huge application. We can see the crops from space. We can detect what the chlorophyll is doing in an individual leaf from space. We can say how healthy the crops are, the salinity of the soil. Imagine a situation in which a farmer, affected by climate change, by soil compaction, stands in the middle of a field, pulls his phone out and asks it, "What should I grow here?" The service then looks at the markets, it looks at the soil compaction, it brings in data from space, from a number of different sources, and it says carrots. Simple as that. That's all you need to do. These are the kind of insights that we can use, that we can gain from space by combining it with different data sources. Telemedicine and also access to education, not just for people who live in rural communities in the UK, but people across the planet, in Africa, in Canada, in Asia. These services allow us to access new customers, allow them to engage with the services that are already provided. Disaster management, if you need eyes on any asset anywhere in the world, you need to be looking at satellites. Climate change, sustainability, carbon sequestration, all of this stuff can be monitored, mitigated, managed using space data. Financial technologies and how blockchain integrates master clock synchronization, as I've already mentioned. This is a still from a photograph, actually, sorry, not a photograph, from an HD video from space. It's not true that you can read newspapers over people's shoulder from space, but you can see the boats there on the left. If you were to zoom in there, you can tell one boat from the other. You can get eyes on anywhere in the world in near real time, and that change detection is incredibly important. We're going to go a little bit further now. Just let me check my time. Okay, let's go. So these guys are on the space station. You'll see the Casey there says DLR, that's the German Space Agency. Lots of experiments have gone on over the last 20 years in space. Space is about to become much more commercialized. The cost of getting 1 kilogram into orbit for the last 50 years was well over $10,000 a kilogram. Today we quote about $3,000 a kilogram. 10 years from now, knock a zero off that. 10 years from then, knock a zero off that. Down to the tens of dollars per kilogram. That means doing stuff in space for applications here on Earth become feasible. For example, medicine discovery. On the left-hand side there, we can see a crystal grown in the exact same conditions as the crystal on the right, the only difference being it was grown in microgravity, so gravity was not affecting it. The crystals are bigger, they're purer, and so some medicines that are grown in space are 4 times more effective as a medicine than those not grown on space, in all the same conditions, just minus the gravity. If you were to grow a fiber optic cable in space, it can carry 10 times as much data as one grown on Earth, purely because the purity of the crystal developing without the presence of gravity. But let's come back down to Earth. ESA business applications. We're a funding stream. We are looking, we're not R&D. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want you to reinvent satellite technologies. What we want you to do is use the existing technologies in response to a market demand, working with a customer in order to create a commercially viable service. If you've got that, come and speak to me. If you're not in the Northwest or North Wales, speak to me anyway, and I'll point you to the people you need to be speaking to your local representative. We fund projects of 50 to 100%. We don't own any equity. We don't own any IP. The whole point of this is that it's public sector money. It is there to help get that service to market, and so that you grow and you employ more people, and let's face it, ultimately you pay more tax. So that's what we want to do. We want you to grow and succeed. We don't want to take any of that money off you, but it is critical that you have that customer engagement, because what we don't fund is grant after grant after grant after grant. This should be the last fund you ever apply for the development of this product or service that you're thinking of, because at this point it goes to the customer, and they're the ones who pay for it then. If you've got a definite idea, please come and speak to me. If you don't, but you think you're interested, maybe there's something in this, you just want to know more, come and speak to me, and I'll try and do what I can to help. Tell us what you're doing, because we can help. We can point you in the right direction. We can try and get that. I'm going to give you my details now. There they are. Before I step away, I will say that Manchester has a huge digital economy as well, we know. And last year, space in the UK was worth £16.7 billion. And yet, the entire northwest of England, with the largest digital economy outside London, with the largest aerospace sector in Europe, generated just half of 1%. And we can do better. So we're working, watch this space, pardon the pun, but we're working to improve that, and I look forward to working with you to help your business do more space.
Amazing. Thank you so much, and I'm sure everybody who's watching is super inspired as to how we can use space tech in our businesses. How you don't already have your own Netflix show is entirely beyond me, because I could literally listen to that all day long. So many different applications, and at this point it is all about the applications and loads of different businesses and what's going on. But that's not where the passion came from you. What drew you to space? What was it that made you think, this is what I want to do more with?
Because it's boss. How can you not be excited by space? Well, yeah, I was an actor, I was a jazz singer, and I was working away, and then I decided, I found out about how little the Northwest was doing in space. And so I thought, well, someone's got to be on this. And no one was. And so I became a thorn in the side of various authorities. And then when they made this program, when they made that a regional program, I went on a limb and I applied, and here I am.
Amazing. And what a wonderful way to close off our innovation exchange, because that is an innovative career if ever I've heard one. It's like, if I just keep about shouting space enough, somebody will enable me to do more. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope you'll come back and join us at a future event and bring some of those customers together, because we would genuinely love to hear more about what's going on. So thank you ever so much, Alan.